once again, D.A.P. We here, we got our young lady. She goes by the name of Joyce Watterman. Yeah. She's here with us. She is definitely running for mayor, but sitting as the council president right now. Um, Say hi to the people, Miss Waterman.
Well, first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank you for an opportunity
No
to
doubt.
just give people a chance to know who I really am.
No doubt.
So I'm here so people will know that I'm a Jersey City girl.
That's what's up.
Born and raised in Jersey City, went to the public school system. I grew up in Housing Authority, on Dales Avenue, which is known as Marion Garden Projects.
Wow, I lived down there for a little while.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I sure did. I lived down there for a little while. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, all right, cool. So you born and raised. How long you been in Jersey City?
Oh, I've been in Jersey practically all my life.
Okay.
I'm married. I got 3 children. I had 4, but one I lost through a tragic accident.
My condolences.
Thank you.
I'm walking in them same moccasins,
Yeah.
so I definitely understand.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And so Jersey City is really who I am.
No doubt.
It's a part of who I am.
Right.
It's my fabric.
Right, no doubt. And I hear you are a pastor.
Yes, I am. Me and my husband, we pastored together.
Okay.
I've been pastoring over 30 years in this city of Jersey City.
Nice. That's really good. That's really good. Hey, man, if you would like to ask Miss Joyce Waterman some questions later on, we'll have a question and answer. If you would like to do that, you can call in as well, or you can put your comment on your question on the comment board. Okay. So let's move on into this interview. First of all, being the council president, it's been a very pivotal. You've been a very pivotal figure in the city. You know what I mean? And and I also see that you are the first Black African American woman. Black woman, the original woman of the earth, to be the council president. How did that make you feel? I mean, being the first out of how many years now?
I've been council president.
You've been since what?
2019.
Okay, I thought it was 20.
6 years.
But no one have ever been that all these years far as a African American woman. How you feel about that?
First of all, I'm humbled.
No doubt.
And I feel like, that says a lot for our country.
Right.
When you look at it, because for me to get elected in 2019 to become the first female African American council president, that lets us to know that there's so much more we need to do, as a country. I'm just the first in.
Right.
But I just hope, as I move on, that there will be others who will strive for it.
Right.
And I just hope our country is more embracing,
Yes.
for people of color to be in certain hierarchies.
Nice.
Because part of the problem is that it's still racism involved. And when you look at the field that I'm in, to be perfectly honest, political field is dominated by men. Not even women. So me coming on the scene as a woman and then as a Black woman and going for such a high office has always been challenging. I always have my challenges and discrimination and things like that go along with it. But that's why I said it's humble. But I know that I have to make a path for those who are coming. The first in is always, people don't realize the first in, sometimes you have more pressure because people want you to do things maybe that you cannot do because people don't understand government. So that's why I appreciate this time to sit here to explain to people really how government really operates.
Right.
Being in this seat, people don't realize the mayor is the administrator of the city. People don't understand that.
Got it.
Okay. He's like the CEO of the company. He runs the company.
Right.
The council is just the legislative branch.
Right.
We write the legislation in the city. I tell people, I give them an example, you can have a 2-way street. Let's say there's a 2-way street, just to make up something to give an example. Let's say there's a 2-way street on Pavonia.
Right.
All right. The council can put forth a ordinance to say we're going to make it a 1-way street. We change that law.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
that
okay.
is what my role is to establish law.
Got it.
Okay, not to really pretty much run the city like people think. Oh, you the council person, you should do
Yeah,
this, you
you be
should
able to
know
do this.
that.
You can do anything. You
It
can do
doesn't. The
everything.
law is not
Don't
even
work like
set
that.
up that. The
Got
law
it.
is not set up like that.
Got it.
It's
Oh,
not.
okay. That's a good way of breaking it down. I like that you broke that down like that. Whose shoulders do you stand on as African American woman from the past? What women shoulders you stand on and look up to get your inspiration to lead?
First of all, I want to give kudos to my mother who's deceased, and the reason
Okay,
why I want to put her first is because my mother always been my biggest cheerleader.
no doubt.
She always encouraged me that I can do anything.
Right.
And getting into this political arena, I want to give a shout out. She's deceased too. Is Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver.
No doubt. No
People
doubt.
don't realize that she was such a forerunner in so many ways in this political arena
Right.
that even when I came into office, she always extended herself to me. And when I didn't understand anything, I always reached out to her. And also, she's not around now, but I want to acknowledge a Senator, Sandra Cunningham. See, I don't want to forget those women because for me coming in, it was those two women that I had to ask questions to. And Frances Thompson, who's deceased too. I remember when I came in, I didn't understand a lot, and I picked up the phone and I called Frances too. So
Right.
these three women really helped me through this process, and I don't want to forget that because when you're coming in an arena that you have no idea of, because my background is really spiritual, because
Right.
I'm a pastor.
Right.
So now you're coming into arena that you're unfamiliar with. So you got to attach yourself to women who have integrity,
Right.
women who have a voice on their own, and women who understand the struggle of people.
No doubt. That's what's up. Good answer. Okay. Okay. All right. You made history as the first African American, you know what I mean? And you served since 2020. We got that. Okay. You have also been a staunch advocate for affordable housing, sponsoring inclusionary zoning ordinance,
Right.
to mandate affordable units and new developments, and serving as commissioner for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So, you've been instrumental in promoting affordable housing in Jersey City. How do you plan to expand these efforts if elected mayor?
Well, affordable housing is always going to be something that we're always going to need
Right.
as people. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at the country overall, people wages is not increasing as fast as the cost of living is.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So affordable housing is something you're going to always need. So me coming into office, that has always been like a passion of mine, something that I've always been on the forefront with. Okay. So when I was a part of sponsoring the inclusionary zoning ordinance, which is an ordinance that allowed developers when they are in a redevelopment area, if they decide to go up certain amount of height, that they have to include affordability in there. All right, which is so important. So now me as the mayor of the city, I would just continue to enhance on that, but I would give incentives because we living in a day and time and that everything is going up. Everything is going up.
Tell
All
me
right.
about it.
Everybody is feeling it.
Right.
And so in order to get more affordable housing, you have to give incentives and you have to get different grants that can help. Because for me as a Black woman, I understand when my people say that there's gentrification and they being pushed out.
Got it.
So what I've been doing is giving affordable, like giving classes for first time home buyers.
Nice.
Because
Okay.
there are certain areas that certain banks redline and kept us out. All right. And so what I've done first time home buyers class because I want us to be educated that the only way you stop gentrification is home ownership.
Makes sense.
And people are not talking about that. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Sometimes they don't want you to own. They want to say, oh, it's a burden. You don't have to pay water now. Every time your rent go up, you paying.
You're paying something. Yeah.
You paying.
Yeah.
And so me as a woman who understands this, I will always be an advocate for affordable housing. So my thing is just flipping over to get more people to build home ownership units. All
Nice.
right. And I can do that through incentives, getting different grants from the state, and then partner with different people to get this done because we need this.
That's right.
There's so many resources out here that you must partner with to get affordable housing. And that must be your priority because affordable housing is something that you're always going to need because the way the cost of living is going up and they are not increasing our paychecks or our salaries,
That's right.
anybody can be homeless.
That's right. So we live in, a lot of people living from paycheck to
Yes,
paycheck.
yes, that's
a fact.
real. That's
maybe
real.
3 to 4 checks, you could be homeless.
You got that right. You got that right.
Yeah.
So we have to start creating initiatives that will inspire people to build affordable housing where they can afford to build it because they're feeling it. We are feeling it. Developers is feeling it when they buy material. So now you got to give them some type of incentives to want to do affordable housing,
Right.
because they don't want to lose neither.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, speaking of that, man, I remember going to Home Depot and I seen what is that called? Plywood.
Plywood.
That was damn near $40-$50.
Yeah, it's expensive.
For one sheet.
Correct.
I was like, wow. But I remember being at Rickles many years ago as a kid, helping people on their, with their material. And I remember it being $8-9.
Right. Because when you build affordable, see how prices went up? Because when you build affordable housing, you don't want nobody to feel like they less than.
Right.
So when a developer builds that unit, he must build that unit the same way he built a market rate unit. And you want to make sure that is done.
Right. It got to be quality.
It's got to be quality because a lot of times if you don't have your hand on the thumb, if you don't have your thumb on it, so to say, they can get away with not building quality.
Exactly.
And so to me, that's very important because where I come from, I get it. I understand it.
Yep. I get it. Makes sense. So, next question. Women empowerment. You founded the Jersey City Women's Advisory Board in 2022 to ensure women's voices are represented in the city governance. What motivated you to establish the Jersey City's Women's Advisory Board?
Just being born a woman.
I know that's right.
Just
you lived
being
it, huh?
right. Just being born a woman. I understand. I understand the challenges we have as women. I understand the discrimination that we face.
Right.
So for me to sponsor and create a women's advisory board was a passion of mine. I tell people I just didn't start dealing with women when I got in politics.
Right.
I've been a pastor for over 30 years, and everything I've done was always to promote women.
Right.
Okay. Whether it's through some type of training, whether me setting up a daycare, trying to help them take care of their children, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So for me, it's really important.
Right.
All right. So I established that so women can know that they will have a voice. Even when I leave office, that women advisory board is still supposed to be in existence.
That's right.
All right. So they will know because out of that, we created the pay transparency, which for women is so important because a lot of times when women go for employment, a lot of times the employer do not want to pay them their worth.
Right.
But if you are working in Jersey City, they should not discriminate against you and they should not ask you what was your last salary from your job because a lot of times that is what they do.
Okay.
And trying to tell you, well, we'll give you that or maybe just give you 2,000 or 3,000 more. But no, you are skilled, you are capable, and they should pay you your worth. So that board is supposed to be a voice for you to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do.
That's right.
So to me, that's important. And then how many women deal with abuse? Okay. I mean, women are dealing with abuse constantly. My whole desire really was to try to build a home, a safe house for women to go to and give them training. Because for a lot of women who deal with abuse, they don't have the skill set because someone's been controlling them. So you want to tell them that, they should get away or they should do A, B, C, and D, but you have to make a place for them.
Right. So they can build up their education and build up know how to do.
Just to make money. I mean, you want them to be independent because right now they dependent on somebody is abusing them.
I get it.
You know,
Makes
so to
sense.
me, for that board is so important. That board goes a long way. And we done plenty of things with that board. They have plenty of programs. Not only that, I know that board did a self-defense class, which
Nice.
I think is important for women to know how to defend themselves.
So what impact has it had since its inception?
It has great impact.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that board has great impact. I know the president, which is, Tammy Weaver, and she's running on the ticket with me. She has done so much for
Right.
for the Women Advisory Board. She has put her heart and soul into that because she understands it too.
Nice.
Because she's a woman and knows how it is to struggle, knows how it is for a woman to have loss.
Right.
So they have made a great impact.
Nice.
They even give out awards. Shiro's Award. They do.
Shiro.
Yeah, they do a terrific job
Nice.
for the women of the city of Jersey City.
You spoke about the transparency.
One thing I wanted to
to.
get to, I don't want to forget, because back to the affordable housing thing,
Right, okay.
I want the people to know that there will be a workshop at the Bethune Center on June the 3rd.
Okay.
At 6 p.m. for them to come out and understand exactly what affordable housing is.
Got it.
To understand the process
Right.
of affordable housing based on from the city of Jersey City.
Right.
Understand what we do, because we do have affordable housing division. Okay.
Got it.
I think they should go and learn. And I want to tell you, since I came back to that, sometimes you think that you can't own a home.
Mhm.
Don't let that discourage you, because it's a possibility you can own a home. I know sometimes we have challenges with our credit rating and things like that. Hang in there, because
That's right.
you can connect with a good broker, for real, a good broker that really cares about you.
Right.
And they can walk you through that process and help you get your credit rating up, that you can purchase a home, because there are a lot of grants that are out here now for first-time home buyers.
That's
It
right.
really is.
That's right.
People don't understand it. A lot of times they try to make us afraid to purchase, so we don't even look into it. But I'm telling you, you can do it.
Is there more grants for first-time home buyers that are women? Is there another grant that's extra for women because of some of the things you mentioned and what women go through?
Well, there's a different type of grants, not just for first-time home buyer grants. It don't discriminate, so anybody can purchase
Got
it.
it.
But there's always additional grants out there for if you're a woman and if you're a veteran woman.
Got it.
You understand
Got it.
that you can apply for a separate grant for that, a different type of grant. So there are different type of grants based on, I guess, your status in life.
Right.
But my word for you today is get out there and try it.
That's right.
Because
on.
what home ownership does, hear me well, it creates generational wealth. And that's something that people don't understand, because in that property that you purchase, you can rest assured everything else is going up. Property will increase too.
Right.
And you will have equity in your home. And when you have equity in your home, you can always borrow from your home, and you can send your child to the college of their desire, or you can purchase another property.
I hear the preacher in you
hear
now.
me?
I hear the preacher in you now. I hear the preacher in you. I feel like pass the bucket around. Where the bucket at? You know what I mean? Somebody say amen up in here. Amen. I hear it.
It's in me.
That's in you, man. That's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up. So, what I'm going to say now, I'm going to ask this question here. Can you discuss the significance of well, you did discuss that already, the transparency, the pay, and all that disparities. Okay. So, what about the hope? The summer women.
The summer program
women,
I had?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about that?
Okay.
Talk about
I had
that.
a summer program called Hope, Helping Others Pursue Excellence.
Right.
Okay. I created that program as a pastor of a church because I was seeing the struggle that women were having. And so I created this one program for the summer so parents could bring their children to this program that I had. And it was free.
Nice.
It was free.
Okay.
It was free. Because one thing I do believe as a pastor, if you teach your congregants how to give back, they will give it.
They will give it. That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Because the truth of the matter is people like helping one another.
Right.
We don't advertise that a lot, how well, people help one another. You know what I mean? We always try to put out the negative, but because, I had good people in my church and they supported my vision, I
Nice.
was able to have the summer program and the kids would come. And what I did, I set up the curriculum in such a way that they had Spanish classes. They learn how to play chess.
Nice.
They learn how to follow the reading that they had over the summer.
Nice.
I had someone in there trying to teach them how to do math better because so often, a lot of times, children are disruptive because sometimes they don't know how to read.
Facts.
And they don't want their friends to know.
That's facts.
And so I set up that program, and believe it or not, I was the cook of the program. And the reason why I was the cook of the program, and I would cook, and the only thing I would ask the parents to do is to bring a lunch for your child, just in case they don't like what I have, because sometimes children are funny. They want to eat what they know. Right. But I would make sure that I would cook breakfast for the children, and I would cook lunch, and I would give them a snack.
Nice.
Right. And I would make sure I took them to the park. And not only that, I took them to a Broadway play.
That's what's up. How do you, envision their growth under your mayoral leadership?
The same principle.
Okay.
Because I think what people have to realize is when you are a pastor of a church, a lot of those skill sets you take into wherever you go because it's in you. Because I do believe this, even as we develop different like recreation centers and things like that, when I used to take my kids to children's church, okay, because, I wanted to enjoy the service.
Right.
There was one Sunday that I was obligated as a parent to give my service to the children's church. As a city, we have to start thinking like that. As we develop different recreational hubs, a parent should be willing to give at least one day out of a week or one day out of a month to the recreation center, all right? Because your child is there.
That makes sense.
It does.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And not only that, though, then you'll see how your child interact with other children, for yourself.
Right.
And not only that, for some parents, it would just help grow them. To be honest, you think different. Right. You know what I'm saying? To me, bringing all of those principles into a city is important.
Makes sense.
It grows. My whole thing is to keep it going.
That's right.
And the best way to keep it going is I'm invested in it as a parent.
Makes sense. Good answer. In light of your proposal of the police policy review committee, what specific reforms are you advocating for to enhance community trust and safety?
Okay, thank you for that. That came out of when George Floyd went through his, the situation with George Floyd. And so I created that board to come up with different ideas on how the police in the city of Jersey City can operate better.
Right.
All right. And that's when we came up with de-escalation and things like that. To me, I believe that police should be community police. I know people, some people agree, some people don't agree. But to me, if I see that same officer every week, every day, I will develop a relationship with him. All right. So to me, advocating for that is important. Advocating for a traffic division. You know what I'm saying? To help the police office with that, because the truth is, though, we do got good policemen. I want to say that we do have good policemen. All right.
I believe that.
Sometimes what happens is it's short staff.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's with any job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you got short staff, you can't cover everything, but that doesn't mean they're not good. All right. You have a lot of good officers out there, and I see that, and I talk to that. Because one of the things that, we were advocate on when we first took office, and people don't realize it, is diversity. When I first took office in 2013, when I looked at the police department, it didn't reflect me at all. It didn't. And so what we did to help that, we created a program. It was at down here at MLK.
Okay.
Where the EDC is at right now. There was a gentleman in there by the name of Waiter. I hope you listen, Waiter, that would help the police officer go through the process of going through the test. Yeah, he was the one.
Okay.
He would help them because you have to pass that test. All right. And he was the one that would recruit and everything like that to get police officers to go through that test, because we wanted to see the diversity, in the police department like it is in the city. All right. In order to do that too, you have to have numerous graduation class. Okay. Because you bring in new officers in, and then the other officers are retiring. So as you bring them in, you bring in all the diversity. And so when people begin to see officers that look like them, the truth of the matter is they do feel a little better.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. But
Makes sense.
do we need improvement? Sure. I think we
Of
need
course.
improvement with everything in the city
Everything.
of Jersey City.
With everything. That's right. Makes sense. Um, with the transformation of spaces like Exchange Place, Plaza, how do you balance urban development with community needs?
Okay, when it came to Exchange Place Plaza, there's an Exchange Place SID board, Special Improvement District. Okay, like Jackson Hill has a
Jackson
Special
Hill, right,
Improvement District. Central Avenue has one. West Side has one. McGinley Square has one. Journal Square has one. Okay, and downtown has one. All right, these are different Special Improvement District that help aid in the development of those particular commercial strips in and around the area.
Got it.
All right.
Got it.
And so you need to continue to support them with the community because there are community voice and small business voice
Right.
to really say this is what we desire
Right.
in our area.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so when it came to that playground down there at Exchange Place, it had a lot to do with also the community wanted a playground by the waterfront.
Right.
Because when you go down by that waterfront, it's not much there.
Right.
You know,
That's
people
right.
walk and they say it was a good view and all that,
Right.
but it's not much down there.
Yeah,
it's
ain't
really
there.
not much down
Right.
there. And so they built that playground area. So now you can go down there and your child can play and anyone can
Right.
benefit from that.
Right.
And so what you have to do, you have to duplicate that in other areas. Okay, because now when I look at the hub, we call it the hub there, right? Now the vision of the hub is not finished yet.
Really?
Okay, it's not finished yet.
Okay.
Because just like you have the pedestrian plaza downtown, during the hub area, we want to make a pedestrian plaza that way. I believe the people down that way should enjoy it too.
That's right.
Okay.
I agree.
So we can block off Kearney Street, all right, make the plaza that way and start getting more stores there. Because when you start developing foot traffic, people don't realize people are more eager or will stop at stores. And then you can get more stores in the area.
Yeah, bringing traffic. That's
Correct.
Right. Makes sense.
It brings the traffic.
Right.
And so I see that area as, the next downtown. Okay.
Yeah.
Far as,
No doubt.
the pedestrian plaza.
Okay.
Okay. So I see that and I'm working on that right now.
That's what's up.
I ain't waiting till I get in office. I'm working on that now.
You're working on that right now. I'm not even mad at you. That's what's up. Let's see. Next question will be, you've emphasized the importance of green spaces. We talked about that. And environmental justice. What are your plans to enhance Jersey City's environmental sustainability?
I thank you for that question because I'm working on things right there now.
Wow.
What people don't realize is this though. I call this the concrete jungle. Urban areas are concrete jungle. You don't see a lot of greenery. In the majority areas you see concrete.
Yeah.
What we found out that in certain areas of the city we have the highest asthma rate. Okay,
Yeah.
the highest respiratory problems.
My father in
all right?
a situation right now as we
You
speak.
understand?
He went to the hospital 2 days ago.
Okay.
Back to back.
Part of that is because there's no green space. People don't know the importance of green space. And I believe this too. If there's no green space sometime and you out there and the sun beaming down on you all the time, it makes you irritable and upset. And sometimes that's why things happen. People get upset with people. So I propose to start putting more trees.
Okay.
Which is important.
Okay.
More trees in areas that have a lot of concrete. The concrete jungle,
Yep.
I want more greenery there. And for side streets that maybe have like small lots or whatever, we could start making parks, little pocket parks, all right, for children to play in. And to me, that's important because now, like I said, I grew up in housing, right? And, not all the time that we had money to take our children a lot of places,
Right.
Because it was
Right.
just tight.
Right.
And so what we always had was a park. We would take them to various parks and we would keep them there all day, pack up some sandwiches and stuff like that. And you sit in the park all day. That means the children is getting fresh air because we need to breathe in oxygen because of our cells. Okay, people don't realize that. We
Yeah.
need to breathe in oxygen because of our cells, because when you breathe in oxygen, it helps your cells become healthy.
Facts.
All right. And so starting more trees and start to develop parks on side streets that can be developed is the key in helping with sustainability. It's key. It's important. And that's why I tell people, no, we need the trees because the asthma rate is too high. The respiratory rate is too high.
Definitely.
Because we just breathing in concrete. We breathing in stuff, you know,
That's right.
you hate to say what you're breathing in. I mean, really, you don't know. And you wonder why you got a headache when you walk outside.
Yeah,
You know, it's no greenery.
You're
It's
right.
important. So
You got a point.
those things are important to me. So I'm pushing for that. So environmental justice is important to me.
No doubt.
And the water, you know, our water need to be clean.
Right.
You know, just like, you know, we had a situation in schools with the kids' water is not clean.
Really?
You know, it was a problem with the school
Wow.
water. Yes, it was. And so as a city, that's why our infrastructure is so important. I know sometimes, you know, we don't want to be, you know, we get upset when there's public service there and we got to go around. But I tell people, you know what? I know you inconvenient, but some of these pipes need to be changed.
Yeah.
You know, the foundation of Jersey City is old.
It's old. Yeah.
It's old. People don't realize that. So the things that they used back then, it's not good now.
Right.
So we need to start changing the infrastructure. If we change the infrastructure, we can start having cleaner water. You know, our soils can be better. All right. Because I do believe this though. In areas, okay, especially in challenging areas, a mother shouldn't have to go to a corner store to get milk that may cost her, you know, $10.
Right.
Because the corner stores are high. We need to start bringing in markets where they can purchase for cheap. So they can survive. We have to start thinking of living totally different.
Yeah.
And I tell people, even when it comes to politics, you got to think of it totally different, you know, because I believe we all need each other at the table. I'm a firm believer of that.
Okay.
All right. So for me, the soil must be good so we can grow stuff. Got enough community gardens where everybody should be a part. That's what I'm saying. Everybody got to be a part.
True.
You know, and get the water clean, change the foundations of the city because it's old. That's why we got sinkholes here. People don't understand this.
Yeah.
This is why we need to start, you know, really putting our effort in things like that.
That's deep. So I got a question from somebody that mentioned something on the comment board. They said, does she know Miss Ruth, one of the longest running businesses on Monticello? She deserves a Lifetime Achievement Award. Can she help put her name in the air, or who do we have to see to make that happen? She needs her flowers. Daniel
Yes.
Lloyd. Thank you for the question, Daniel.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I do know Miss Ruth. When I honored Miss Ruth one time when I was helping small businesses, Miss Ruth definitely can receive an award. That's not a problem. You could reach out to my office at 201-547-5134 and explain to me exactly what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And I can definitely walk you through the process. Miss Youth Moore's Lounge has been a staple in the community.
Yeah.
I know a lot of good jazz players went through Miss Ruth.
I DJ did a few times too. Yeah.
Store, and I know she's elderly now. You know, and so I agree with you. So just reach out to my office and tell me exactly what is it you want to do for Miss Ruth.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. So what strategies do you propose to support small businesses and promote exclusive economic growth in Jersey City?
Okay. Small businesses is a passion of mine. What people don't realize, I've always been meeting with small businesses quarterly. I've always done a meet and greet and, you know, networking, that type of thing with small business. What I've done, the reason why I've done that is because I wanted to hear their side of the story.
Right.
Okay. And hearing their side of the story, they was telling me the challenges that they had with funding. Okay. They were having serious challenges with funding and space. Okay.
Got it.
What I believe when I'm elected as mayor, we can create a fund for small businesses to get a small loan. All right. And the reason why I said a small loan, because they have to pay it back because you want the pot to grow. All right. So often the problem with government is there's no revenue coming in. And so today I can have a program, but if there's no revenue coming in, then that program will get canceled because
Right.
there's really no money there.
No money there.
For me,
Gotcha.
for small business must continue because I do believe they're the backbone of the country. And so to set up a fund for small business to get a small business loan, that would definitely help them where they won't have to go through so much red tape.
Got
All
it.
right. And to streamline the building process. Because another thing I heard them say, for them to open up their shop sometimes takes a long time. And when you're a small business, you put everything you got in, you put all your
That's
money in,
right.
you put your kitchen sink in there if
That's
you
a
have to,
fact.
to make it go.
That's a
You
fact.
really do.
That's a fact.
And then it comes a time that you don't have no more money and you hoping that you can go somewhere so someone can help you because you just at the last part of the business to get it running. But when you go through the federal government, it's so many red tape. So if you have a fund for a small business and you set it up where they can get a loan, they won't have to go through the red tape,
Right.
but they need to be registered too. All right, I got to say that because I helped some small businesses, and come to find out, sometimes they don't have all the paperwork.
Right.
All right. Now I'm going to do my part. You got to do yours
You got
too.
to dot your I's and cross your T's.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm in this. You got to
Got
do
it.
that. And
Makes
then
sense.
I think also what would be a strong thing for small business to do, because you do see a lot of these buildings going up, but I don't see a lot of people occupying the commercial space quick.
Yeah,
So
I
that
noticed
let me to know that the rent must be too high.
High.
Right.
It is. Yeah.
And so you have to partner with that developer beforehand and maybe give him some type of voucher, stipend program or something like that. So I said we have to sit down because every contract is different.
Right.
And that's why I say that. All right. Sit down to see how we can get a small business in there for
Right.
less the price.
Right. How would you go about doing that?
That's why I say you have to sit down and see what that contract is. All right. You got to create that contract in order for that to happen, because then I got to see what his financial need is. So it won't be like a greater loss to him. So if I can find some type of voucher.
Because you know that plywood like $60.
Right. So if I could find some type of voucher program or some type of grant, depending on it, you know what I mean? It's a possibility that something like that can be done, because I do believe this though, because the way the federal government is cutting the way he's cutting, I want to develop a strong grant division.
Got it.
You got to have a strong grant division, because there is a lot of grants out here, but you got to have somebody that's really on top of it constantly, because some grants you have to pay matching, but some grants you don't have to pay back at all.
That's real. That's deep. Okay. So next question. I think I have someone else that's asking this question. Anissa Abdullah, what are your plans for Jersey City School District? And I want to add on to that because I also had a question on that as well, which was the cornerstone of community growth. Education is the cornerstone of community growth. I think I've heard you say that as well. How do you plan to address disparities in Jersey City public schools?
Okay. Let me explain how public school goes first, and I'll tell you how I'm going to address it, okay?
Got it.
When you look at the public school and you look at the city council, those are two separate bodies. Let me make this clear to people, because people don't understand that. People think sometimes, me being a council person, I could just go into school and say, you're going to do A, you're going to do B, you're going to do C, right?
It don't work like that.
It does not work like that, all right? They have their own separate body that, just like you elect me to my council seat, you elect the board commissioners to their seat, all right? There's two separate bodies.
Right.
As an elected official, part of what we should be doing is sitting down with the Board of Ed to see how we can help them with their financial crisis, because it affects us one way or another. All right. Based on, to my understanding with the board, and I spoke to some of the teachers there. My niece is a teacher. Okay. Is that they don't have enough supplies. So that let me to know, even though they have this $1 billion budget, all of the money is not going to them.
That's interesting, because I've heard a teacher say to me once before, I think we got to talking and she was in the chair, and she was saying she's about to go out and buy some supplies for this
Right.
because this kid don't have this.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So she's going
Correct.
in her own pocket. So a lot of
Correct.
teachers do that.
Correct.
Wow.
And so, what as a city, because it affects us all, is a domino effect. I
Right.
believe the city and the Board of Ed have to build a relationship because to me, relationships are important. You can't get nothing done without relationship. I don't care what no one say because that's part of our problem now. Because you have the Board of Ed and the city at odds because of that payroll tax.
Right.
That there's conversation about. They thinking the city's not giving them all the money and this, that, and the other. To me, I think as the mayor of the city, I will sit down with the Board of Ed and make sure they get all the money that they deserve.
Could you get some money for me too?
Yeah. And the reason why I say that because I really do see our children as an investment.
No doubt.
I really do.
No doubt.
And so that payroll tax is truly important.
Yeah.
Okay. That's truly important, that payroll tax. So as the mayor of the city, I will make sure that they get their funding that they're supposed to get from the city perspective. Second, I think we need to unite as the school board and the city council and the residents of the city and go down to the State Department. And we need to lobby as one voice saying we want our schools to operate like this because those teachers are taxed that they got to always try to make the deadline with a test. They more worried about the testing sometimes than the child actually learning because it's coming from the state. They have these formulas that don't make sense.
Right. So
because
are these formulas done just to have them passed to possibly, get money, state money, whatever?
I don't know why they create these formulas, to be perfectly honest, because you can't create a formula and make it blanket really across the whole state of New Jersey. Because part of the problem is why Jersey City gets slapped in the face a lot is that they think because we got the waterfront and based on our medium income, because a lot of people didn't fill out the census, okay, they think that all of us is making like 96,000 a year and all of this stuff here, okay, and that's because people didn't fill out certain things to let them know. And so that's why people think Jersey City have all this money. And so they don't want it. So they keep cutting us because other municipalities, they don't have that. They don't get that. The taxpayers in those other municipalities pay for that school.
Right.
Whereas Jersey City, we do get so much money from the state. So they saying, okay, no, Jersey City is doing so great. Y'all got these high rises up. Y'all got not realizing that's really not our salary. But that's why it's so important for us to start filling out census and stuff like that to let them know what our income is.
Got it.
And if they would know what our income is, they'll know that we really need to help. But nevertheless, we still in this boat. So being in this boat then, as the mayor of the city, you have to make sure that they receive all the the payroll tax money that they deserve. Number two, you have to sit down and see how we can go to Trenton to see how we can get control over really how we teach our kids. Even though they say they gave us control, but I can't see it. Because when I go into school, because I'm on one of the boards in one of the schools, them teachers saying, well, they got to follow this curriculum and it's supposed to be community school.
Right.
And I said, well, it's really not a community school. I said, because you're telling me what the state telling you what a community school should run like, but yet the residents in the community may need something totally different. So it can't be a community school because they're not really involved. It's coming from the state, from people who have never been in the community.
Not the community.
So these are the things as an elected official that you have to fight with them. And as a mayor of the city, you want to be the first one up there. See, when they see us come together, because to me, unity, where there's unity, there is strength. There's certain principles that I just take. Right. When there's unity, there's strength. And when it comes to that, we need that for our kids. It's a domino effect.
Domino effect.
It is. And our kids need to be educated. They told me now, since COVID happened, that kids cannot read past the third grade level.
Wow.
But listen, think about it. If COVID happened in 2020, that means we shut down for 2 years, right? So kids who were supposed to be in kindergarten,
right? Wow.
Kids that were supposed to be in the first grade, you can't teach them by no Zoom.
Nah.
They need to be in the classroom learning how to do. Right. So they missed those 2 years. If we were more a united front, what we should have did is say, no, we're not passing none of our kids. We want to make sure our kids can read. We're going to make sure our kids can write. And we don't want to be pressed that they got to take this test or whatever the case may be. Makes sense. There's a lot of things that we as residents need to do. And as the leader, we need to be in one voice saying, this is how we want our city to run. I guarantee you go to other municipalities and small municipalities, they tell you how they're going to run it.
Yeah. That's a fact.
They're going to tell you how they're going to run their schools.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Looking ahead, what is your overarching vision for Jersey City, and how do you plan to achieve it as mayor?
My overarching vision for Jersey City is to move together forward together. That's what I believe, forward together, because at this point in life, because there's so much going on, so many cuts happening,
Right.
and by the time I win, it's going to probably be more cuts.
Right.
Right. And so for me, forward together is so important, is because everyone need to be at the table. As government, you may not have all the answers, but if you have different ones at the table, we can come up with creative ideas.
Right.
Creative ideas,
Right.
creative ideas in housing. I already gave you an idea about housing.
Right.
Creative idea in small business. I done gave you an idea in small business. All right.
Facts.
Creative ideas in education, how we can work together to make sure our kids are educated. I gave you those ideas there. There are more ideas out there. But everyone must be at the table. I need a developer there. I need a nonprofit there. You know what I mean? I need a pastor there. You know, I need a resident there. I need a student there. I need everybody there, because we have to put our ideas together and we have to start moving this city forward. I got good people in this city that do work. I got good directors who have great ideas.
Right.
I'm the type of person that's willing to allow you to run with your idea, because I do believe this: if we don't try something, we all going to fail. So at this point, we all need to put our ideas on the table. As the mayor of the city, I welcome every idea along with my initiatives too, to make sure we move this city forward. It's not just me for all. And I want to make that clear, because sometimes I, as being in the political arena, I'm listening to everybody saying, well, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make that happen. I'm trying to tell you really how government really works. Government works when everyone is at the table and every idea is not thrown off, but everybody idea is welcome. And the best idea is how we go. So I got an idea for affordable housing. I got an idea for small businesses. Okay. I got an idea for education. All of these things are important. All of these things are important. An idea for sustainability, idea for the public safety. It's all on the table, because what we really do need, and I know they push back on it, but we do need a civilian board.
A civilian board.
We do. We do.
Interesting.
We do. We need a civilian board. We need a small business board. The reason why, because they are the ones involved.
Right.
Listen,
That's part of the community. It's the community. You're right.
Business change, and you want the people who are in it to make sure that their voices are heard.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Wow. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to leave with the voters? Why you? Why Miss Joyce Watterman? Why should I vote for you? Out of all those who's running, why you?
Thank you for the question. This is why. I'm born and raised in this city. I seen the ups and downs. I seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I believe in local politics. I do believe it. I believe Jersey City needs a leader that will be strong, that will listen to the people, that have the experience, that will act and get results. I'm that person. One thing I can tell you, if I can do something, I will do it. If I cannot, I will not. I'm not putting no false promises out here. Everything that I told you that I can do, I know I can do it. Why? Because I got the experience. I'm in the seat right now. I am flexible, I am firm, and I am fair. That's my record. I am a fair person.
You seem like the type of person that will, like, if you don't get your behind in there and wash them dishes. Yeah. Okay. So, anybody got any questions for Miss Waterman? You can go ahead and put those questions on the comment board, or you want to call in, you can call in as well. But if you have no questions, we're going to keep it moving. And I thank you so much for, accepting the invite. I appreciate you coming up, accepting the invite to D.A.P.
And you know what? Before I
appreciate
close
it.
out, I want to say this though. If you want to support me, you can always go to joyce4jc.com. If you would like to donate, you can go there too. I'm doing a campaign which is 2025. If you can just donate $25, I truly would appreciate that, because I do believe my campaign will be won with just grassroots money. I believe that.
That's
I
what's up.
believe that.
That's what's up. So
I know.
where can they go again?
Joyce, JoyceFore dot jerseycity.com.
All right.
Joyce4jc.com.
There we have it. Miss Joyce Waterman. You have been that. Thank you so much. Much love,
Thank
respect.
you.
Appreciate you coming through.
Anytime,
All right? Peace and
anytime.
blessings.
I
No doubt.
enjoyed it.
No doubt.
I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anytime,
Yes, ma'am.
anytime.